Hello good people and welcome back. Now, Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura might still be the two strongest human chess players at this time, but they're extremely promising youngsters with the highest level of potential. Personally, I'm following Praggnanandhaa and Gukesh with just a slight special attention to Pragg. Magnus holds Pragg in a very high regard, and I think Praggnanandhaa has the positional insight of Magnus, all the while capable of channeling Garry Kasparov's tactical acumen. Let's have a look at this position. Here Praggnanandhaa plays as white, and he's just over 2600 ELO. This happened in 2021. He plays g4, putting the knight away, but also just challenging to open up the h file here. H takes on g4, h takes on g4, knight to h6. I can speak English, I swear. Bishop to d6, threatening to take this piece. Of course, knight takes on g4 instead of moving back on f7. So g2 by Pragg. Now his plan is realized, and that's to put the rook on h1 and then hit the king there. Knight to f8, rook to h1 check. And you'll notice that there is massive weaknesses in the light square diagonal. So knight to h7, and here comes Praggnanandhaa's inner Garry Kasparov. You find the winning move, which we'll show in the video. Let's boost that ELO. Let's get it.
Round 1. Fight!
So this game took place in Sochi, Russia in 2021 during the World Cup. Praggnanandhaa's rating is 2608, but he is 15 years old. He's up against a legend in Mikhail Krasenkov, who's 2591 and a slight decline. Anyways, if you find this content helpful, somewhat tolerable, and it's helping you in your chess journey, please leave a like and sub. You have my gratitude. Let's get started. So Pragg starts with b3, the Nimzo-Larsen attack, a move that Carlsen actually plays in classical tournaments back then, a couple years ago. e5, bishop to b2, hitting e5. You have d6, c4, capturing a d5, knight, or rather g6, and then d4, attacking the middle immediately. Knight to d7, d takes on e, d takes on e, and knight to f3. You cannot push, of course, as your rook's on prise, so bishop to g7, and now e3. Knight to e7, bishop to e2, castle, king, queen to d2. Luft for the queen. Knight to c3 probably next, rook to d1 next. c6, knight to c3, knight to c5. Now, Pragg plays rook to d1, not afraid to trade and turn this into a middle game-ish endgame. But Krasenkov plays and queen to b6 and says, let's keep the queens on board. Bishop to a3, can't move, of course, because that's getting pinned. But also here, Pragg starts the idea of, instead of challenging this diagonal, why not challenge this diagonal? But we're still pretty theory-ish here in this regard, except for b4. Now the idea is, with the advancement of the pawn there on c5, you get to keep d6. At least Pragg is thinking positional here. Knight to e6, and then castle king. Rook to d8, and Pragg moves, not to Prague, that's a different place, that's queen to c2. Bishop to d7, again with this idea looming of a push. Now, white has to be careful because that does allow a square for black there on d5. Queen to b3 first, knight to f5, knight to e4, again, once attacking d6, twice attacking d6, and then the potential push there. The queen move is also significant because it is eyeing the light square diagonal. h5 by Mr. Krasenkov, and now you have bishop to b2, relegating it to a more relevant square instead of just staring down here fruitlessly. I have to use complicated English. Queen to c7, and now we have c5. Again, we've realized the idea that one attacker, two attacker, and then that square currently belongs to white. b6, trying to undermine it. Bishop to c3. One of these positional juggles where if takes and takes, and the queen is hit, the queen doesn't have to defend this, because you have to move and you lose some sort of a tempo. 1 to defend yourself, and 2 to defend this if this was still on b2. Bishop b takes on c5, b takes on c5, rook to b8, queen to a3, protecting, also eyeing this square if need be. Now we have a5, canceling that out. And here we have bishop to c4, a strong and good move. If you're actually looking at this position qualitatively, the bishops are placed very well for white. And if we're looking at it from black's perspective, this bishop is a little awkward because it's not doing much. And while these two knights are centralized, the squares they're occupying are not very strong. Whereas Pragg's, you've got d6, you've got f6, you got g5, contesting the square there, of course. So now f6 by black. And here Pragg starts with h3. Now because of that f6 move, Pragg does miss this super grandmaster, super engine line where you can sacrifice the bishop. Kasparov will probably look for that. A prime Kasparov, I'd say, but I'm making unfair comparisons here. But this is Stockfish at 16 and a decent rig. F takes. And then now you take advantage of the pin. So, rook 2, queen 2, attacking, maintaining the pin. Rook to d8, knight takes. After takes, you give a check. Can't take because this drops. So after that move, you just support the queen, and you're up significantly into position. So, not to be, h3 was played. The idea of push on g4 and if takes king 2 g2 with the opening of the h file. King 2, h8. Look at this bishop looming in the corner. Now g4, another strong move. These are positional ideas, but this game is opening up. H takes on g4. Now you have knight 2, h6. Rook to d6, threatening twice. And you have knight to g4. It looks attractive because, well, you take away the pawn in front of the king, but the thing is there's too many pieces in front of the king, and this is attacked potentially by the bishops. There's really no attack here. A safer route would have been after rook to d6, simply go here instead. Boot that out. Defend the squares in front of your king. But after knight takes on g4, king to d2. You can kind of see now what's going on, right? Knight to f8. Nice control there. He's trying to overprotect h7, black is, and now rook to h1. Knight to h7. And here comes the bullet train. You cannot stop this train. What did Pragg play in this position? Considering the idea that you have this, 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 and then this, lots of lines. Pragg played knight takes on f6, a sacrifice, a temporary sacrifice. So you can't take, bishop took. What did Pragg? It's not a plague. Pragg play next. He played rook takes on f6. You can't take. You can also notice that this is opening up. Everything's opening up. And the only piece that can take that is knight takes on f6. But there's still a pin, guys. What's the continuation? Bishop takes on e5. This is Kasparov stuff. He foresaw that when the dust clears, because of so many pins, which I'm going to unhighlight, he can clear out both these bishops and the h-file. Knight takes, bishop takes, rook takes, knight on f6, bishop 2. Hitting the queen, maintaining the pin. And after the move there, knight to g5, adding another attacker. And you actually got to move your king here because you'll get mated. So check first. Rook takes on h3, and then rook to b7. And Pragg just plays the calm queen to c3, and the opponent resigned. Why did black resign? Well, if you try to escape with a sad king to g7, you're still in a pin, and you're still basically in no man's land, so rook to h7. You get absolutely barbecued. You don't even take first. Now takes, and after that it's a checkmate in the middle of the board. And the only way to save the game is to actually sacrifice your queen. So after takes and takes, you're still going to lose, of course, because the queen has aimed the cannon in your king's face. You can sacrifice. Look at that. Sack the queen. Check. Here, and there's an unstoppable checkmate because the exit squares are all closed. It's insane, guys. Pragg is insane. And this was him in 15. And Magnus is a special case. But there are talented players out there, and Praggnanandhaa and Gukesh is one of them. I'm slightly in favor more of Pragg, but I learned something here, and Pragg is a monster. And you can channel some inner Kasparov by starting positionally and then building up, and then boom, take it out. Hope you guys learned something out of it. I'll see you guys later. Double P.